Hello and welcome to week 2, the Scenario Design Basics for the course In Action Integration Framework for SAP Business One. My name is Miriam Rieger, and in this unit I will tell you about the System Landscape Directory. The objectives for this unit are to describe the purpose of the System Landscape Directory, also called SLD, to create a new definition for a system in the SLD, and to explain how the SLD entries separate the scenario from the actual end systems, enabling the portability of a scenario package. You normally build a scenario in your development environment and then you deploy it to the customer productive environment. Scenario packages are easily portable between your development system and the end customer system. All you need to do to transport a package from your development environment to a customer system is to export the scenario as a package, then import it at the customer side and activate it. The plug-and-play nature of integration scenarios means that you can install a package on your customer system. The new end system has to be selected from the SLD or also from the atoms if there is a special end system defined, maybe in different atoms. Documentation has to be provided that tells the administrator which additional configuration steps are required. The actual network connections to sender and receiver systems are not defined in the scenario. Instead, each sender or receiver system is represented with an entry in the System Landscape Directory. When you deploy the scenario at the customer, you define the SLD entries again in the customer's environment. Nothing in the scenario package has to be changed since the SLD entries are outside of the package. The SLD provides a set of system types, which are templates pre-configured with the connectivity parameters for the inbound and outbound channel types used in scenarios. Select a system type as a base when you define a new system in the SLD. The B1 system type is used if the sender or receiver is an SAP Business One company database. There is a system type for each major SAP Business One release. The H.any system type is used for any system using HTTP calls. The J.any system type is used for any database system. The W.any system type is used for any web service. And the F.any system type is used for any file system. The sender and receiver systems are maintained in the SLD tab in the user interface. When you test the scenario in your development environment, you define an entry in the SLD for each sender and receiver. To create a new SLD entry, select a system type as a base. For example, use F.any system for a file system. In a new SLD entry, enter any required parameters such as a host name, IP address, port numbers, server names or file folder locations for a file system. You can test the network connectivity for a system from the SLD, independently of the scenario. For a file system outbound, as used in this week's scenario, the SLD entry defines the actual network path to the folder in the file system. For an inbound file, it is the file in definition in the SLD entry. You also define the encoding, delimiter and payload type. For an outbound file, this is the file out definition. You enter a pattern for the file name. You can use wildcard characters, for example, the question marks, as you can see here, which will be replaced by numbers, as you can see here on the slide with the 5 zeros. This will be incremented each time the step runs, so that a previous file is not overwritten. You can also add a timestamp to the file name. Let's go to the system directly and see how this works. In the system, you see here the tab with the SLD. Here you can define or create new systems. If a system is created, you find it here and you can use this for the connectivity. We create here a new system. In this list, you find all, as also described on the slides, B1 systems. If we go a little bit down, the f.anytype, any system for the file system, H, any system for HTTP calls, J, and so on. In this example, I want to create only an example, and I take the name file example and say create. And then you see here the general information with the f.any system. You have here the information about the file in and the file out. We can save this. And it's now available here in the list, our file example. It's only that you see it here. And here you can do a test connection. If you're connecting to a database, you can try and test it if it's okay. And you see here, you can define the delimiter, the encoding, and the payload type. Let's go back to the slides. And in this unit, you saw how the SLD entries separate the scenario from the actual end system. This makes it possible to transport a scenario from your development environment to the customer productive environment. You define a new system in the SLD by selecting a base system type, then provide the network connectivity details. In the next unit, you will see how to activate, test, and export/import the scenario. Thank you for attending this unit and see you in the next unit. Bye bye!